At first look, the Kia 109 is a bad plane, and indeed it hasn't much going for it. However, I always wanted something like this for the Japanese for quite some time. I never had a specific thought about a plane like the Kia 109, I just knew it experiencing a very high amount of Japanese Air RB late game scenarios in which this plane always misses. The trick to both make the plane work and also find a place where it's really useful is to hope for your team to clean up the enemy's fighters so you can freely attack the enemy's ground forces. And that is basically the summary of the Japanese Kia 109. Today's video is sponsored by the free Eagles app for War Thunder. Download the app in the video description below and use the code shown on screen to get 10 golden eagles right now. So first of all, welcome back to War Thunder, and again welcome aboard the Japanese Kia 109. To just give you a very short rundown on the stats about the Kia 109, I also will explain why this is not such a good plane at first sight, and also in the very first battles that I played it. The Kia 109 is a Japanese rank 3 battle rating 4.7 tech tree plane, and it is equipped at a battle rating 4.7 with a 75mm Type 88 cannon with just 15 rounds and a single 12.7mm HO 104 machine gun with 500 rounds mounted in the back of the plane as defensive gunner. The plane is not very bad. It's basically in the shape of a medium bomber for the Japanese, and it handles like one with a big cannon in front of it. We know a few similar planes or plane design approaches with the PBJs and its variants for the American tech tree. So basically equip a medium bomber with a 75mm gun and then try to get something done with it. Is this approach useful? Is it somewhat usable? And can you use it aside from ground forces? Now, why do I say ground forces? Because the shells are updated. We have 3 different belts: the default belt, 50-50 ratio of high explosive shells and armor piercing shells, and the armor targets belts is the one that I use, 96mm of penetration, and it keeps that penetration quite well, 80mm at 1000 meters, and we have 460 grams of TNT filling and also muzzle velocity of 719 meters per second. That is roughly, very roughly, the 75mm gun of a Sherman tank if you're used to the Americans' APHE shell, but just with significantly more high explosive filling. So the damage after penetration is big. So, and then there is also this, well, combination of no further armament for offensive actions. So you cannot really rely on coming out of a head-on successfully. You really need to nail down the aim on an enemy plane. And so I thought to myself, well, this is an approach that most likely will fail. Also, currently, at that battle rating, I rarely encounter any kind of allied bomber at all. It's like they go full fighter mode. Again, the Americans have a few new planes to play around with. Most of them are fighters at that battle rating. So not very good odds for this plane. And then there is this map, Operation Guadalcanal. It's the first time, and I'm not kidding, in the time of like 2 months that I see this map, and I do not very well know this map. And so my plan is simple: just simply wait, just simply survive, climb to altitude, maybe there's a bomber, maybe I can go into a head-on, although I have loaded a full AP belt. So it depends where I hit the bomber, and I guess the fuse is not very likely to get activated, so it's pure AP damage that I will deal to the enemy bomber, and most likely I will get a lot of damage from the defensive gunners in the process. However, you technically have long range, well, capabilities, much like an ME410 with the 50mm in theory. In practice, it's a bit different. So technically what I want to do is a theory that I developed in my thought process a while ago. So I'm a lot you know, while climbing in various different planes, I'm theorizing a lot. What is a nation missing? What is a nation good at? How can it further improve? How can you counter that? And so on. Sometimes I implement this into my videos. Most of the time I actually don't. And now I spotted the enemy's medium tanks. So back to the thought process. My idea is to let my team deal with the enemy's fighters because they are the main threat. So I have to rely on my team. Thankfully, I still am fighting with the Japanese and I'm observing how the fighters are doing. I really hope for them to come off good, and I hope for one thing, and you will not believe it. I hope for one person being on the airfield being AFK. Why is that important? Because that gives me then the time to clean up the enemy's ground forces, to make every shot count. And for that I have loaded, as I said, the AP belt, and I've set my convergence to 400 meters. And when I'm at 400 meters, I pull the trigger and I will definitely get a kill in where, well, the overwhelming majorities of cases. To get the belt is a real dog's dinner, I have to say, because at that point your gun is inaccurate and you have a 50-50 ratio of HE and AP, so you have to waste the majority of your shells, because 8 of your shells are HE, just 7 are AP, and you have to make them count. And then sometimes when you attack, for example, like pillboxes, well, yeah, you have a problem. So currently I am also trying to help my team out, and there is one player that doesn't have any point up until this point, any points so far, and the Tempest again wastes himself by going into head-on with a Kia 94, and this is now my chance. Now every shot counts. Every shot must destroy a ground unit. By the way, why am I doing this? I want to spade the Kia 109. I want to find a very specific place for it, and well, the simple fact is I have activated a 500% research point booster to get the maximum out of a game. Of course, this sounds a lot of gambling in hoping for the best, and indeed I'm doing this, but as you can see, it pays off. It pays off, and that's good, because it has to. It really has to. And so I'm taking my time, and I hope for the best that the enemy player stays AFK. At least I think he's AFK. However, the rest of my team has nothing better to do than to rack up the AAA vehicles, and that was a very painful miss. That was a very painful miss for me. Again, you just have 15 rounds in total. So with one tank have been destroyed by my actions, or by my hands, by my guns, whatever, I will not get out of this battle with nothing. And that's the primary role. You at least have to destroy one tank. And there you can see another beautiful, beautiful ground strike. This might really sound absurd, but just think about the process the other way around. Very often, an enemy player is hiding, he's running away, he's on his airfield, trying to lure your fighters into AAA cover, and your fighters have literally no way of getting kills on ground units such as medium tanks, such as pillboxes. And in this role, the Kia 109 is a plane that needs to stay alive to clean up then the remaining enemy ground forces to get closer to victory faster than it would just by hoping that the enemy player either bails out or that you kill him by swarming the enemy airfield into with the entirety of your team. Other nations have a much easier time in this respect. Germany has fantastic Do 217 bombers that can rush early on both the bombing points and also the tanks, for example on Sicily. Then also the Me410s, B2, U4, A1, U4 with the 50mm guns, B6, R3 needs no introduction, like the Do 335s, the Heinkel 219 A7, and of course the Ducks, the HS 129, B2 and B3, at least in theory. And yeah, it's a bit like the HS 129 B3, but much better in overall performance. and even having more ammunition. The Soviet Union has bombers, Yak-9T, IL-2, IL-10s, Peshka-2s and Su-6s in this respect that also can deal with ground forces. And you know, then even Great Britain has the Mosquito FB Mark 6 and the Wyvern, the fighters with bombs and rockets. And yeah, there's also American 82 Skyraider, bombers, attackers, you name it. Even their 50 cals can rack up pillboxes under 400 meters with any belt, by the way. It just takes a few runs and good aim, but you know, technically it's there. Yeah, there is Italy, PA-108, CLA-2, the 4-engine bomber with the 102mm gun. It's a bad choice. It's really impossible to crack tanks. You need to have a very good run, a lot of time, and then even then, you know, it's very difficult. But then again, Italy plays together with Germans and they can do the job. And so I'm happily racking up the kills, and you can see how patiently I wait up until the point that I really get 400 meters to secure the kills. Well, there are two things. First of all, to get anything done, and I can take my time because the enemy bomber in this respect, now he has destroyed a destroyer and has given away his both position and plane type. Well, he takes a while to get shot down. It's more important for you to make the attack successful, to make every shot count, to not just get practice on this plane, but also to increase your hit ratio and destruction ratio. And yeah, the Lancaster in fact put down the A6M3, my auto squad mate. Here's the thing. Even if he would have not shown up, I could have landed and rearmed and have done the same and even get more out of that. So indirectly I have to thank him for trying to sneak around and destroy our carriers or our ships in general. I really have to thank this guy. You know how absurd this is? And that hit was really painful. I actually hit the tank but just the tracks. And I just hope that he stays alive for long enough to either me putting him down, which I try to do now, in a head-on or something like this, and also to wait for the 400 meters convergence, or to, yeah, wait for something. And the cargo ship actually shot down the Lancaster. This is why I turn around again and try to desperately get into some final hits on the medium tanks, even on unoptimal range. So I need to aim low below the tank because the shot will go wide. Look at this. Beautiful. Another one, come on. Yes, yes. And that's the end of the game with 11 ground targets. And please notice that I aimed for the medium tanks, which are much more worth than, for example, AAA positions. The most value you might get out of pillboxes, and yeah, they also count for the ticket bleed of the enemy. So it's a win-win situation. 43,000 civilians and 13,577 score points with a 500% RP booster with a premium account, and that just rips out a big chunk out of the spading process for that plane. It was a huge gamble. It was no guarantee to work out like that, but I tried my best and I got rewarded for that. That's the simple message that I want to give you. And there we can see how much I can spade in this one game, or through that one game. I primarily went to improve the weapon, of course, and now I try to improve the survivability and overall performance with the remaining upgrades. That's it for me today, so thanks for watching, thanks for listening. Please give this video a like if you did, subscribe if you want to see more, and share this video with your friends that try to desperately kind of spade this vehicle. We'll see each other in the skies of War Thunder.